All right, welcome back. We are Game 3004. That's Mobile Game Dev 2 in the winter 2022 semester at George Brown. And it's week 15, part 2 of our broadcast. And it's all around your final presentations. And this is the second one we've done this week. Let's take a look at where we're sitting. Again, we're sitting at the last week of semester. We're doing our final presentations. And I'm not going to talk too much anymore. But what I will do is talk about the presentation order. And let's take a look. So we're going to start with, it looks like Sleepy Dragon. Anna's going to start us off. Sam's on deck with Team Fake ID, followed by, it looks like Ian. I'm not sure if Mary's going to come on earlier or not, but right now it looks like Anna's going to start us off. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to allow you guys to share your screen. And Anna, if you want to take over, we're ready for you. Yes, we can. Whenever you're ready.
So I'm Anna Levine. Our team is Sleepy Dragons and our game is Custom Pavlovsky. Our team, Diana, Jane, Pauline, Nico, Miriam, and Mark. Features, for example, camera, obstacles, platforms. Our game Custom Pavlovsky is a 3D third-person platformer about a donor whose daily goal is to get to the mailbox. He has many obstacles in his way to get there. The game setting is a local fantasy setting. And the camera is third-person camera that covers the set distance away from the player. The player character is a wizard named Pavlovsky. Game starts by Pavlovsky starting his daily walk to the mailbox. The game takes place in the dog's household, starting from the backyard and progressing towards through the garden and finally reaching to the mailbox. The player can choose the roads to reach the goal. It can be puzzles like jump challenges, obstacles and platforms, or cards that has combat challenges with monsters. In later stages of the game, the boss becomes more challenging to get through, with more obstacles providing jumping challenge. There are also more hazards that make the journey riskier and more challenging to complete. Mechanics. The player can navigate through a 3D world and jump between platforms with mobile joysticks and buttons. The player has a sword that can be used to attack enemies. Killing enemies score points, and we also have custom cavalry pickups. Our dynamics are several types of obstacles and platforms that provide jumping challenge. If the player falls into the water, he can feel respawn at the nearest checkpoint. And we have a saving and loading system to save the game status. Our aesthetics in fantasy and imaginary world. And
This is Jane and I'm presenting our gameplay demo for the final presentation. This is our main menu. We have 5 buttons here. New game is for going to a game level, and load game is for loading saved data, and option is for controlling the volume, and graphics, and instruction and exit level as well. Okay, this is our game world. As Anna mentioned earlier, our game is influenced by 3D Mario World a lot. We worked hard to make it as similar to it as possible. Our game concept is that the Dark Knight Pagaski goes on a long journey, fights against the monsters, and grows up while dreaming. Pagaski goes on an adventure from the town he lives in, and this is the town. Okay, I'm gonna save the current status just in case. So the UIs in the upper left corner represent the image of Pagaski. This is health bar, and this is the score. I just got 50 points, and this is the current level. And the upper right corner is representing the minimap. The minimap can also be enabled and disabled through a minimap button. It makes it easier to see the world at a glance. At the bottom is the inventory button. When you click on items in the inventory, player health increases by 1. But the inventory was not fully implemented. Just pick up items aren't saved here, but just directly increase health. So, gonna in the dog's biscuit and kill the monster again. It hurts. Alright, this is a camera button as you see, and you can change the angle by rotating the camera whenever you want. It might help us to understand what and how the maps looks like and see what kind of obstacles or monsters are in front of the player, so the player can be prepared for the challenge. And there are 2 camera triggers here, the bridge. Last time we had, like, even though we rotated the camera, the player's forward vector didn't change, but it works well though. But yeah, so we placed 2 triggers here, and the start of the bridge and the end of the bridge. So then the camera automatically resets to a new pause and returns to the origin setting. Let me show you this one. Like this. And this is swinging X. He will lose his health when he collides with that. And there is a rolling ground on the other side. That one is rolling ground. There we go. I think this is because the player's camera collides with the that one, this map one. Just pass it. Oh. And this is collapsing platform. We have some bugs currently on the active platforms. forms. And also there are a bunch of checkpoints. So when you fall onto the water, then it automatically spawns to the nearest checkpoint. I want to show you, but my health is really low, so I'm gonna save game again. This is spinning platform. Yeah. Wow. And this is bouncing platform. I want to fight the monsters, but
Okay, so we will stop it here. And lessons learned, we gain good understanding and experience what it takes to make 3D game for mobile device. We saw how many things we need to understand and think about while developing for mobile games. For example, how to support many types of device. And also we learned how important testing is. We learned that we need to test the whole game every time when we add something new. And the future possibilities. If we would continue to work on this game, we would add more dynamic features like fun pickups, fun weapons, more levels, and boss. And that's it for now. Thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you, Anna. So I got some questions for you. And so a couple of things I noticed when I was looking at the video. First of all, the volume was very low. I'm wondering if you were sharing your sound as well for your actual computer sounds. I'm not sure if you were, but it's okay. I think I got the gist of what was happening. A couple things that I noticed in the video when it was playing. Can you show us the video again? Just go back to that a little bit. So I think here's the great thing about what I saw. I really enjoyed the pastel colors, the choices that you guys made when it came to the enemies, and it was very. I think the theme was very clear in terms of, and this is kind of what we talked about before. I really like your. Now that I'm looking at it again, your interface, which is very simple, is interesting in terms of the different kind of things. Now, I didn't quite hear what the different attacks were. Like, so you have an attack, you have a weapon, and then you have those other two buttons there on the screen. What are they? Are they a jump? Is that a jump and a run? Like, what are they? Like next to the weapon, it's like these two dogs. It looks like.
Yes.
So which one's which? Is the top one the jump and the bottom one the run?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I thought so. Yeah. So overall, I think it's okay. It's interesting how you use your your second joystick, which is the eye of which is the camera. I kind of like that icon. That was pretty neat. And just in general, I think it looks like a very friendly game to play. I would have liked to see some of the moving platforms on your mini map. Your mini map is pretty, like, it doesn't show a lot in terms of what it can do. I think you could have done more with the mini map in terms of the information that it gave to the player, right? Because at the end of the day, when we look at it, it's like, look, even here, right here, you see that the player's on, it looks like the ocean, right? So it would have been nice again to see, where the player is. That could have been an adjustment that I would have liked to see. The other thing that I would have liked to see also is when you switch cameras, blending between one camera and the other might have been really cool. Are you using Cinemachine for the camera, or are you just cutting to two different cameras? What are you doing?
Yes. Cinemachine.
Cinemachine, yeah. So you could have used the Cinemachine blend to blend between one camera and the other camera. So as you move from one camera to the other, it kind of pans from one camera to the other, so it gives a more smooth cut as opposed to a harsh cut. But otherwise, I think it could have worked. I think it worked for you either way. When the again, when you're going from a side view, like when you switch to the side view, if you go back a little bit in your video to where your main character was on the platform that was a side scroller, can you go back to that one? Right there, yeah. So this is where the camera had some issues because it was colliding with some kind of obstacle that was in the way. Again, what you could have done for that particular thing is either remove the obstacle because it was just kind of part of the scenery. You could have made it so that the camera would see through it, right, when it came to if it came closer, or if it was colliding with it, you could have turned it off, right? So you can anything that the camera collides with, you could have done stuff like made it not render while the camera moved through, or even turned like disabled it as it moved through, and then enabled it again when you leave, right? So again, these are all techniques that you could have tried, but for the most part, you know what? I really think that you've come a long way in terms of the stuff you put together, the platforms that you had. My question to you is, did you have fun doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did probably enjoy it. I had much more fun enjoying it with not all five other actors with many projects in parallel to do.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
I know there's a lot that you're doing at the same time.
enjoyed much more.
Well, yeah, I know. And then the other thing was that I know that you personally, I think I know you're interested in mobile development, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I think so again, I think yes, I think this is great for you personally, right? So that's why I thought that it might be awesome that you did this. So great, great job, guys. I really appreciated the detail that you went into, and the presentation materials were very good too. So thank you so much for that. Any other questions from or comments from anybody else that's here today? Okay, Anna, thank you so much. Then we'll move on to the next
Thank
person.
you so
Thank you.
much. So much knowledge from these two mobile phones.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. All right, so that was um, our first team, and we're going to move on to our second one. And the second one looks like it's going to be Team Fake ID with Master Sam Pollock. All right, let's see how he's going to do his thing. Exactly, my friend. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do today for us, Sam. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. And we really crossed a kind of a threshold with the game in the last couple of builds that we were doing, and it's reached that curiously compelling stage. You'll see once we translate to the demo. I meant to record a 5-minute demo of gameplay. I recorded 15 minutes. We'll skip around to the relevant bits, but I've been playing more than I mean to.
All right, go ahead. Let's see how it goes.
Okay, so okay, let me know if you're seeing my screen. So hello again, everyone. I'm Sam Pollock. I'm going to be presenting today with and on behalf of the team Fake ID. I'm back again to give a little more depth into our upcoming game, Idle Tower Defense. This time I'll be your guide as we take a tour of the mechanics, the dynamics, and the aesthetics going into the game. And after much preparation, we're ready to share a final look at the game as my team and I will show off some gameplay to demonstrate how the mechanics have come together for this end-of-term checkpoint. And by now you all know Fake ID, but I'm gonna introduce myself and I'll have the team introduce themselves as well, so we can once again put these faces to these voices. So I'm Sam Pollock and I've been serving as the producer.
Hi, I'm Morgan Etze, and I am the software lead.
Hey, I'm Eric Enos, and I'm a programmer.
I'm Robert Weimer, and I also worked as a programmer.
And I'm Lucas Dunster, and I've been working as designer.
And the whole team will be present here, ready to go on mic. So if anyone's got questions or comments along the way, feel free to ask me or anyone on the team. And as for the team, when we're doing the demo, feel free to pipe up if you've got anything particular to your field of expertise that you want to touch on. So during our first presentation, we asked the question, what if you took the best elements of the beloved mobile game genre, synthesized them into one game designed from the ground up to offer familiar gameplay with the right mixture of fresh. So that's the best bits of the tower defense, that intoxicating satisfaction of watching your arsenal of towers taking on waves of invaders, the fun of a city builder, the fastidious planning and resource management that keeps your mind working. And then finally, our secret sauce is that hands-off play from an idle game. It's that relaxing and rewarding joy of watching the numbers go up. That's that curiously compelling element I mentioned before the presentation. So we're going to take another look at that answer. We've got idle tower defense. And we will be looking at the demo of gameplay, but first I'm going to describe a play session with that special attention towards the dynamics of play. When you open up the game, you start on a large map that is mostly empty except for the looping path in the center. This image here is from a little bit later play. On this path, there's a zombie player, which spawns waves of zombies at regular intervals. But the good news is that the zombies aren't here to attack you or your towers. Instead, they walk circles around the path, which is where your towers come in. You've got enough gold and crystal to build a couple of arrow towers. So you tap the build menu, you select a few towers, and you place them on the loop to hit the zombies every lap.
Thank you, my dear.
and Anna's contributing as well. So after you've built the towers, you enjoy the benefits of the gold and EXP rolling in. By then, you've collected enough gold to build a few more towers if you do so, and then you're dispatching the zombies quicker, which means you're earning gold and XP faster. Before you know it, you've earned a level up, which offers the opportunity to add another zombie spawner to the map. So a few moments of careful road building later, there's a new zombie spawner on your roads, pumping out more zombies, and your arrow towers can't even keep up. Next up, naturally, you'll build a few more towers. You'll try cannon towers to destroy the growing crowds. You'll be building ice towers to keep the speedy ghouls in the range of your strongest towers. And you're maintaining a network of mining towers to collect more resources for upgrading. And then finally, most importantly, you're building up enough fortifications to take down the surges, which are enormous waves of enemies from all spawners at once. As for the mechanics go into that, we've got, of course, the roads. This is how you route the enemies and set their paths and get your towers into range of your targets. Next up, we're managing multiple resources, which means we've got gold, crystal, and EXP points. The goal of these resources is we want to offer multiple resources so that over the course of play, the player goes through different variations and phases of surplus and scarcity. So for example, you might have a lot of crystal, but very little gold. So you might build a lot of ice towers. So you can spend your crystal on slowing enemies to give your damaging towers more opportunity to deal their damage. And then if instead the opposite was true and you had lots of gold but very little crystal, maybe you're going to build a lot of cannon towers to deal with the clumps of enemies faster. We have those level ups, which you earn from reaching XP thresholds. In our game, the level ups are a non-linear mode of progress. Instead of increasing your damage or health directly, each level up grants you the opportunity to choose what to add to the map. That's either spawners or resource nodes. This is where the player has the chance to choose different opportunities to earn progress and different paths to progress. So maybe if your towers are so strong, you need more enemies on the map to destroy, so you choose another enemy spawner. But if instead you want some more special resources to build special towers, you could add another crystal mine as an investment in your long-term economy, which might help you out even more. So the player's going to tailor their strategy to their goals and their stage of progress. And then we've got those enemy spawners, which you choose as you level up. And again, each of those spawners spawn the enemies at different rates, and the enemies have different traits and weaknesses. So if you have a lot of zombie spawners, you might want to build some cannon towers to deal with the masses they produce. Or if it's a ghoul graveyard, which sends out the speedy ghouls, you're going to invest in some more ice towers to slow them down. And so we mentioned the idle play component. This is where, as a mobile game, we wanted to cater to the mobile play session experience, where sometimes you're really into it. Maybe you've got 5 minutes on the bus, or there's a television commercial. So this is where you're really focusing on your phone. And then there's other times where just in between the idle moments of the show, you want to look down at your phone, do a couple stuff, earn a little progress, gain a little gold, and then go back to paying attention to whatever you're paying attention to. And so the idle play comes down to mostly spending the resources that you've collected and going about and collecting your stashes of gold. But the active play happens primarily during the surges. So this is where once there's these extra large waves of enemies, you want to watch and see how your towers do to gain all that resources. I'm going to take a quick moment to look at what we've accomplished for this milestone. So we've got the complete level now, which means we're working on a larger level. This time it's big enough to scroll around and explore a little, with some room to accommodate lots of spawners and an intricate layout of roads and towers. Our initial mini stage was built for about 5 minutes of play. This time we can accommodate 20 minutes of play. We've got those core gameplay systems, got the arrow types, the tower types. We have the arrows that can be ice, and now we've got the utility towers like the driller and the collector. Driller drills crystal, which you can collect, and the collector magnetically draws in coins that are dropped nearby. It'll store them there for your safekeeping or your collection at your leisure. And then Eric's put in a bunch of additional work in tower and road building. So we've revamped the road building system entirely based on our testing with touchscreens. So now it works more predictably, more smoothly, and in a better user-friendly way. Sorry, excuse my voice here. I'm at the end of my COVID. Been kicking my butt. Then we've got the level up system, and that's where once you fill up the level up meter, you can choose between those new spawners. We got a bunch of work into the enemy AI, which is the nav mesh pathfinding and the speed, health, and the enemy spawning patterns. And we've got across the board tons of improvements to the audio and effects in the game, and for the most part, we've got no more bugs. And then I'm going to switch over to the demo here. As I mentioned, I recorded this demo last night so that we'd be able to skip around to the critical aspects from this 15-minute play session. I'm going to start playing it. Let me know if you guys can hear the music and if it's at a suitable level. You can't hear this? Sorry, we've got familiar with how to do this on Blackboard, but not. Yeah.
You should be able to directly share your audio through Zoom, right? Or yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, how do I even stop sharing? Okay, thanks, Tom.
Tom's hijacking the presentation.
Yeah, is Juanita. He's co-pilot. Okay, so if I go share screen, share sound is the checkbox, yeah, and then okay, so now you should be hearing some soothing music. Okay, so I'll be talking over this. We've just got here's the start screen. You can jump in from here. You can access the options menu where you can toggle music and sound effects on and off, which I'm demonstrating here in that video. And then we put a little extra work into the instructions panel. So we described the screen UI and what you're looking at. So we've got the XP bar, the search bar at the top. There's your tower shop on the left, which indicates what you can build and how much they cost. And we've got the buttons to toggle road building. We have a zoom in and out, which works in addition to the pinch to zoom functionality. And then here's some gameplay information, including arrows pointing to what towers are and what they do, and the buttons you can press during play. But from there, we're gonna jump into a fresh game. So as I described, you can see that starting initial loop. I'm showing off our drag to move the camera. The camera now is locked to the main screen, so once you reach the edges, it won't let you go any further. And then you can zoom out to get a better look at the terrain. So the spawner on the right there, the coffin spawns those zombies. They're going to spawn anywhere between every 30 and 45 seconds. And then my tower is going to automatically fire at the enemies, deplete their health bar, and once they're dead, they'll drop a coin. The coin will stay on the ground for about 2 seconds. So you can see me tapping to collect those coins. and increasing my defenses by building some more towers. And in this gameplay demo, you'll see I go through these phases where initially I'm spending my resources to build some towers. And then now that my towers are outstripping the rate the enemies are spawning, I set about building some additional road to get some more enemies on the map. And that push and pull is what's constantly propelling you through the game. You're improving your defenses until you can take care of all the enemies that are appearing for you. And once that's the case, you expand your empire a little bit to get more enemies coming, at which point you need some more towers to deal with them. So I built the second tower type here. We've gone from the arrow towers, which fire homing arrows directly at one enemy for direct damage. And then we've got the cannon tower, which fires long-range, slow-moving projectiles that go to a position on the ground where an enemy is standing, and then they deal area of effect damage on impact. One of the dynamics with this, of course, is it works really well against these zombies who are clustered together and slow-moving, but against some of the faster-moving enemies, they may not have as much opportunity to hit them, or may miss entirely, unless you do some careful road building or utility tower building. And then, as you saw me collecting all of those coins, I had missed a few because they despawned because I wasn't able to click them in time because I was building towers or checking out the map. So I've laid down a collector tower. And you'll see once the enemy dies near the collector tower, the coin will suck into the tower and be stored there for safekeeping. The collector towers have a max value they can store, so you can't just leave the game running for hours and come back to a fortune. But you could check in every couple of minutes, collect your gold from your collectors, and improve your tower defenses. Now I'm going to go ahead and start skipping. Oh, and I'll say before I move ahead, there's a driller tower which I placed near that resource node. So it's gradually collecting the resources from that resource node, and then like the collector tower, I can tap it to collect everything that's stored up, which adds to my crystal resources. I'm checking out the mini map here where we've got these icons representing the position of towers and spawners and resource nodes, as well as enemies who are on the map. That's your key to getting a bird's eye view of how your empire is doing and seeing where the bulk of the action is happening. I've just built a road to another tower, enemy spawner type, which is going to spawn those speedy ghouls. So I'll start skipping ahead. Showing off the pause menu where you can save the game and load the game. So here my empire has expanded some, and you can see I've got a little network of cannons on the left. I've got some more roads to distant spawners. I'll skip ahead even further still. And here you can see after about 12 minutes of play, things are picking up with all of this action. At this point, I've got these speedy enemies coming down and cyborgs spawning from the center. Each of those enemies have those weaknesses and strengths that I described. And here you can see I quit to the menu. load into a fresh save, but I can resume my progress to pick up where I left off. So I click the load there, and I'm back in it. So I'm going to finish off my presentation by looking at a postmortem that we've prepared as a team. And then I'll jump into questions and discussion about the game. So I want to talk about the elements of this project that showed us the things that we want to keep in mind for the future first. The things that we could do to avoid potential fallbacks or pitfalls that we hit during this process. The first one, and I think we've heard this from a bunch of groups, but it was problems with consistently handling the source control. This showed up especially early on in the project, where we were encountering and then laboriously detangling merge errors, which meant a lot of team attention and effort was put towards salvaging our work, or worse, we lost some development and required redoing work. This obviously runs contrary to the purpose of good source control. So in future projects, we've learned that we want to start everything off by getting the entire team very comfortable and confident doing frequent and clear commits, so we can prevent this time sink and prevent a lot of stress. The next thing that we thought could use some work was more focus on the structure and planning at the start of each sprint. So I think this is probably a symptom of our limited experience in working in projects like this. It was pretty challenging for our team to anticipate and forecast exactly what might be required from each role going into each sprint, which meant that in spite of our best intentions and efforts, sprint kickoffs were incomplete at predicting what needed to be done, and as such, we weren't able to anticipate exactly what time or tasks or resources would be required to complete each sprint. Next up, like Anna mentioned, it was the challenge of multitasking. Each of us were balancing this project alongside other personal and scholastic responsibilities, which meant occasionally we would have to do what we've been calling assignment triage, looking towards whichever assignment is in most dire straits and attending to that before getting to our other assignments, which unfortunately meant this assignment, which was going pretty smooth for our group, often was left on the back burner as we dealt with more urgent and problematic assignments. That accounts for why we've actually had some great work on this project in just the last few days after we've submitted our other assignments. And then finally, there's challenges with tasks which overlapped roles. There's things like polish or sourcing of assets, which don't clearly fit into the responsibilities of any of the team members. We are sort of a team of go-getters, and so when it wasn't clearly someone's responsibility, instead of leaving the task on the task board, a bunch of people would volunteer for it, which resulted in redundant or duplicated work, which ironically made more trouble than less. But moving on from what needed some work, I'm going to look at what really worked on our team. The big one is communication. We had constant communication, partially by virtue of this online learning environment, but we were always in contact through our team's chat channels and meeting each other in classes daily. So I did a good job keeping everyone abreast of challenges, hurdles, and especially breakthroughs in our projects. And then, of course, this is especially pronounced during our weekly meetings, where everyone participated and brainstormed, and we just built a good team atmosphere. It goes a long way to say that after working with this group this entire time and on this challenging project, I'm still happy to hear from them. When my Discord goes off, I'm not pulling out my hair. I'm eager to see what people are saying or what they're working on, which leads into our next big win here. And I think it was team morale. So we've been in good spirits the entire semester. We're always excited to see how the project has developed, and we're looking forward to talking to each other with each milestone in each meeting. Something that helped with that was that we had a game design that we were all excited about. This game started from a series of big design meetings early on, where not just one designer, but the entire team contributed with inspirations and observations and their vision of the game. And we ended up with a game that sort of accomplished the hopes of everyone on the team, and everyone had a sense of ownership of the project and its direction, which kept everyone invested. And then finally, I think it's sort of a funny one. Something I want to carry through in future projects is recording the regular video check-ins at milestones. It ended up being a great record for posterity of the progress and how we were feeling and what we were doing. But also just the act of recording these videos was an opportunity to take a look at the project from all angles. It's pretty easy to, when you're focusing on one aspect, like you're on saving or you're on UI or you're on tower mechanics, to get sort of myopic tunnel vision on your aspect of the project and lose track of how everything is fitting together. So having these opportunities where our team members were talking through their thought process and showing off their code and implementation meant that everyone was able to keep track of exactly how the project was constructed from the ground up, which I found very useful. And then moving on, we've got, if we were to spend a little more time on this project, which to be honest, based on our tests and the fun we've been having in the last few days, is looking pretty likely. We've got things we want to work on, like the beautification, just kind of improving the look of the game. These playtests have revealed a lot about the balance and flow that we could improve for a longer scale play session. For example, just this morning, we were talking about increasing the health bars or the health pool of each enemy so that they'll traverse more of the loop every round. And so it's easy to do things like we can increase their health, but don't increase the gold that they drop. So it doesn't necessarily slow progress. Instead, it just means there's more action happening on the map at any given time, and towers like your ice towers or the utility towers would increase their application against enemies with bigger health bars. And then, of course, in preparing for something like a full mobile release, we need to spend special attention to performance optimizations. Object pooling has been one we've had our eye on this entire time, just haven't been able to squeeze it into these deadlines. But object pooling, for example, for the enemies or the projectiles would go a long way to smoothing its performance. And then juicification, which is more feedback on player actions. Stuff like having the coins shoot out of enemies when they're destroyed, or additional sound effects when you're landing big hits. And then there's tutorialization. Of course, with a project like this, all of our team members have become so familiar with the game that any idiosyncrasies of the way it plays or the way that the onboarding works are totally second nature for us. So we could do our best to anticipate what we would need for tutorialization, but more importantly, it would be a little bit of play testing with someone who hadn't played the game and take a look at what they get confused by and what they get intrigued by, and build our design and our tutorial and our onboarding to accommodate that and steer the player to the best experience. And that's what we have for today. I really hope we've got some questions or comments that me and the team can address, because we're eager to talk about this game. Thank you very much.
Wow, Sam, that's pretty awesome. Some of the stuff you showed us was, especially improvements in some of the stuff that you did. Wow. I mean, that's all I can say. It looks like it's really polished. Yeah. Can you go back to your video for a second?
Yeah, certainly.
And one of the things that I really noticed was your road building. I think we talked about this last time, how it was kind of like squarish way back.
Yeah.
How did you fix that problem?
Okay, I'll let Eric speak to this. You did a ton of that. I'm great with building.
Okay, so with the roads, so to make it actually like find which angle you're going on, I have it so you click on the screen and you drag, right? And you get the green squares. Every time it drags over a square, it gets like sent to an array. And then after you're done dragging, it looks at all the tiles that it just picked up, and it checks another array that is like a 2D array, and it has all their X and Y positions. And it just checks which tile is next to it, and then it has a bool, up, down, left, and right. And then from that, it chooses which tile needs to be placed down. So it works in like all directions. It yeah, you can go pretty wild with it.
Wow.
A funny little road for demonstration.
That's awesome. Yeah, so that is to me one of the really neat features that I saw. which is neat. How do you now? How about the the navigation? I think actually Vince just kind of popped it in there too. I was going to ask. So when you
yeah, well, let's do the different Alex thing for sure. Yeah.
And then it kind of gets pre-baked with that original loop. And then each enemy spawner will check if it's connected to a main road, and then if it is, it'll start spawning enemies.
wow, yeah, that's really interesting. So again, so you've got like basically dynamic nav mesh, really at the end of the day, equivalent. And on top of that, you have all this additional tech that you've added in this time around. You know what? And the thing that really made me like really super happy, Sam, when was when I saw that crazy map at the end. I was like, holy, like look at all the stuff that's going on there. There's a lot of things going on in the game, right? So like the stuff, I don't know how you guys, like when I first saw it, I think at the checkpoint, I was like, okay, I wonder how this is going to play out. And now that I'm seeing like kind of like your end game, I'm like, wow, okay, now I get it. Now I get why this is a great game. You know what I'm saying? So
we went through that same process this week. We shifting the map Morgan were playing for quite an hour during the team meeting. She really arrived at an optimal build. The video's up on our Discord. Just head up.
yeah, so I just think it's honestly it's very successful. I think you guys did a great job. Any comments from anybody else that's here with us today? Anyone else can also add in your own comments, but I know there's been some. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Vince. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's a great piece to show on your portfolio. The fact that your team is able to do dynamic map building. I was a little bit concerned about like, given like how many tiles could be adjacent to each other, the system might choke on itself. Considering like, oh, it has to check like this piece or that piece depending on a predetermined path. But it seems like it looks like you managed to create a relatively closed loop. That's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it was very hard. Eric and I was the best way to get that technical stuff performing.
Are working, it becomes extra clear where a little bit of fine tuning and a little bit of polish would yield meaningful dividends.
Right.
It's something really fun to play and play for a longer session. So keep an eye on the game. We may be sharing an updated build a couple weeks into the summer.
And have you put it up on Twitch or anything like that?
We'll post an itch build maybe this weekend once we'll iron out a couple more details, and then we'll update that with something maybe a little juicier a few more weeks down the line.
That's great. So some of the things the students always ask is how do I promote myself and promote the game? And I think we've seen some of the larger companies do this kind of thing, right? So which is do a little kind of interview or something like that on Twitch, right, where people record you and you kind of broadcast that, and then advertise that you're going to do that on, let's say, something like Twitter. For whatever reason, Twitter has really become for me anyway, kind of a source of like news and kind of especially about video games. So that stuff. So you advertise on Discord. You say that we're going to be on. You kind of share the same notifications on Twitter. You tell people to follow you on Twitter because you're going to have new notifications and stuff on there too, right? So it gets them engaged in the social media. You connect your Twitter account and everything else to Twitch, so that way when you're going to have everything, it's good. And you do kind of a side channel conversation at the same time on YouTube. I know this is like it's crazy, but there is a place for a social media marketing person, even in a small company, right? So I think it's something that you guys could think about, because putting this game up on on the Google Play Store and that kind of stuff, I think would be something that you might want to consider in the future, for sure. I think there's something that can go on, and even making an iOS build might go a long way to really expanding your audience. So that's where I would go next.
Yeah, we but I think even just going whether or not it gets a dozen or 2 dozen people that I think going to the Play Store would be a great thing to have on everyone's resume, and just a good thing to experience for the team.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Sam and team. I think you guys did a fantastic job, and we're going to move on to the next team now. But thank you so much for that presentation. Looking forward to seeing more from you guys. Yeah, no problem. I can do that for you. So I will just stop your sharing. All right, great. So next up is we have, I guess it's Anonymous Shrew Studios with Ian Chapman, and followed by Group, as far as I understand. So Ian, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay, I'm assuming you can see our Shrew. Cool. All right, yeah, we're Anonymous Shrew Studios. This is our presentation for our 3D mobile platformer game called Kitkat. And this is our team. Consisted of Alex Stein as our game designer, sound engineer, a bit of QA in there as well, though we all kind of did QA. We got Tyler Miles doing our gameplay programmer. He's also a technical artist for a lot of aspects. We also shared a lot of input on the art as well. There's myself, the producer, and Robert Palermo as our lead software engineer, user interface, and tools program. It's also the man with the plan here. He kind of built all of the levels that you're going to see in the game, which I'll showcase here in just a minute. So yeah, this is a 3D platformer we called Kitkat. It's influenced by a bunch of older kind of platformer style games. We've got Gex, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. Using these as our influences mainly because all of these games require a very precise amount of control. Crash Bandicoot the least, I suppose, but it's still a platforming game that inspired us for the concept of breaking objects, which you'll see in a moment. But with when it comes to like making jumps or anything else like that, you'd see something more like Gex. And the way that our levels are designed as the game progresses, the difficulty is increased not with timer or numbers of enemies so much as it is with the design of the level and the heights and the difficulty and jumps that you're going to have to complete. Chibi Robo is also a really great one for us as well because you're tiny and everything around us is huge. I even see a dog in the background there. So that's kind of going to be representative of what you'll see in our game. So the setting of the game is it's a vintage modern kind of home, sort of 60s looking, but the aesthetic that you see with UI and music, it kind of gives it this sort of rock and roll comic book, old school kind of feel as you navigate the game. And this is the general story. This story we haven't really adapted it in any way since we first thought of it. It really is just about our character Kat, who's having a power fantasy about just destroying everything that they possibly can around the home. So that includes that'll include breakable items like glasses or toothbrush holders or television sets, anything like that that you will run up to, and you'll basically just start kicking them. So you'll do that with our melee combat system. The melee system can be used to fight the enemies in the game as well as break the objects that are going to up your score. There's basically how all the mechanics will work together is that there's a minimum score that you will have to achieve to actually proceed to the next level. But even if you achieve it, you don't get to go to the next level. You still have to make your way through all of the hazards and enemies to escape the area that you're in. And all of those hazards and enemies will include things like we have enemy rats that patrol the area. We have a sentient robot vacuum cleaner that's out to take you out if you are on the floor for too long. And you also have there's also a dog that guards the door to the next level. Basically, the dog gives up if you achieve a high enough score to move into the next area. But if you don't have a high enough score, it follows you and makes sure that you can't touch the I want to say the trigger box that allows you to actually go into the next area. So that's basically how all the mechanics and dynamics fit together. Aesthetics of the game, yeah, it's still it's a comic book kind of feel to the game. We wanted to make sure that whether you played this on PC, which is what we did most of the time, or on mobile, that there was certainly an amount of fluidity to the player's movements. If you're going to make a game that's based on accuracy of punches and kicks, you have to make sure that the player can actually make accurate punches and kicks. So that was an important thing for us. And the concept for the game, kind of on a social level, I guess, is that it's shareable. So exactly what we've said, a player could pass their phone to a friend, which is something that I used to do when I worked at a gas station just to kill time. You just pass your phone to somebody and say, can you do this better than me? It's definitely an E for everyone kind of game. There's nothing particularly violent about it, other than kicking rats, I guess, but nobody likes rats. So there you go. And right now, I do have a video recorded of me playing the game, but if it's okay, I think I want to try and play it live. Because there's some stuff in the video that I didn't cover that I think would be a lot better to do live. So just 1 second here. I think we said we have to stop sharing to get audio on the new video or in a new app.
Yeah, what you'll have to do is you stop sharing your screen, go into then like reshare, then then share your application or whatever it is you're going to be broadcasting directly.
Okay.
So is it going to be directly through your LD build or
for sure.
there we go. Should be good now. You can run the build from there, and then we can test it out.
Can you hear it?
Oh wait. No. Is it live right now?
Yeah.
Click
we can neither hear nor see it.
Click the Kitkat tab in your LD player. It seems like the build isn't selected in the application.
Maybe if I launch it.
You have a tab for it, but
sorry.
You see.
Oh, that's what you see. I opened it, so it's open on my side. But you do?
Yeah, half of it.
Sorry, yeah, it was off my monitor a little bit.
Oh.
So
I think it's just lagging.
Yeah, and Ian, the thing for me was when you start sharing through Skype, whatever it's called, and Zoom, there's a checkbox on the bottom left that says share audio that defaults to unchecked. So
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm trying to. It's just like sure, that'd be great. There we go.
And I know we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, but it's okay. We're going to wait for you. There we go. Now we can start singing it again.
Do you hear anything?
No. Did you click the before you actually broadcast it, there should be a little checkbox in the share screen window that tells you that you can share your audio. Were you able to click that?
Where is it? I stopped sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just sing it. Oh, share sound. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's just a tiny little checkbox. Perfect.
Yeah. There it is. There we go.
All right.
Wow.
Cool.
This early 2000s vibes.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little nostalgic. So that's just our options panel. But all right, let's go. All right, so there's a Roomba. You can probably see that's probably your biggest worry, because you're going to want to use the floor, but you can't, and that's kind of what makes it more of a platformer than it looks like. So you will come across breakable objects here, and you just give them the boot. Oh. So there's different values or different kind of hits that you can put on different objects. Like I'll show you in a moment here. Not everything has the same value when it contributes to your score up here, and not everything breaks the same way. So it will take more time to break than others. Now this is the first level that loaded in. It's relatively easy. Everything's kind of down low, but you'll see as I play through the game is basically designed to have things that are up out of reach. For example, there's a shelf that I can't quite reach at the moment. Oh, geez. Oh, well, all right. And anytime something like that happens, you respawn at the bed, you lose a life just up here. And if you have reached a minimum score, you get this little flash up here. Oh, and Roomba gets me. And the dog that was around that door earlier has left, and you can actually hit the door. And you move into a windscreen. So it just passes through your score, your little dancing character, and you can play again, move to the next level, or menu if you want to leave. This is the first level that we made. Oh, just to address a couple of things here. The stake item that you're seeing here, this is a score boost. I've got 2 on that pickup, so there's a score boost there. The yarn ball is for speed, so that picks up your speed quite a lot for about 5 seconds. Oh no. And there's, not all of the platforms that are in the game look like platforms. Like there's one over there that looks like, I'm pretty sure it's like a coaster that was floating back and forth. But this is this is key to our gameplay as well. The pillows will help you get quite far especially if you jump at the same time as hitting the actual pillow. The fishbone, which is our third kind of pickup, that's a life increase. So I just went from 3 to 5 over there. Okay, and to explain the dog as well, which I haven't seen much of him, you see that he kind of follows me on the floor from side to side. He's getting my X transform, basically. And if you do get close enough to him without the Roomba giving you the smackdown, he just shakes a sword at you, but he doesn't cause any damage. He's pretty much only there to let the player know that they can't proceed until they've collected enough things. Oh, there's our flooded kitchen. That's kind of like a death plane for us, basically. And we have something like that in a bunch of our levels. Oh, there we go. Oh no, the stove. I don't think I'm going to beat this one, but that might be okay because you'll at least get to see what the game over screen looks like. There we go. Yeah, so that's it. Score 1400. Didn't make it. You can save and load. I can demo that. For example, let me go do a few things that are worth saving. Oh, okay, so there's a life gone, and that's that. I'll hit the pause menu, save. I'll just click resume. Let's say I go up here. Perfect, all right. File, save, all right, quit. And if you just click continue. Oh, I don't know what happened there. I must have gone through it wrong. Anyway, it is working. That's odd. But yeah, that's pretty much our game. Let me just go ahead and get Empty Player out of here. Cool. All right, so that's our game demo. Lessons learned moving forward from this. What we found probably the most crucial thing to start off is some kind of coding standard. That's definitely something I discovered as something that was my fault. I wanted to start this. I wanted to start this project quite a while ago, but so there was some code that I had just regarding like how to use Cinemachine on a third-person character. And when I started branching off of that, because the game started basically with just a character controller, it got really messy as I brought other people into it. So I definitely either should have got everybody hip to how the project was going to be started, or I should have just adapted the code that I had to match how other people were more comfortable with making it. Another problem that we had were lots of commits. Sam covered this. I think everybody probably had merge errors. But yeah, a really bad one can wipe out a bunch of work that you've done, and sometimes that can happen on the night that something's due. So basically, as a team, what we did was just avoid making commits to the same scenes at the same time. Eventually, the game actually grew big enough that we could work on different aspects and make different prefabs to carry over to all of the scenes within the game. So it didn't become as much of an issue as we went further, but the early stages, it was quite difficult. We also have to watch out for the long-term effects of feature creep. I think when I say long-term, it more refers to how you might start off with a game design document that has a lot in it, and you can cut things. But if you had started preparing some kind of asset, for example, I had planned to have kind of like a sidekick character for the main character that was supposed to move over to hidden items within the level, and it would alert the character, and then if you're within a certain distance, only then the sidekick would go over. If you get too far away, it would give up and come back to you. But we left these collider boxes around the items, or these trigger boxes around the items, for a long time, and they were causing all kinds of problems. All you had to do was like walk up to them, but you could still be like, like 10 feet away, I guess, or however you want to measure that, and they would still trigger. And I forgot that was there for a long time. So that was something that we had to fix. Just an example. We should definitely make test builds frequently. There was a million times we tried to build this, and the mini map was just a black circle in the corner. We eventually figured that out, but we didn't know that until we tried to make an actual build of the game. You never have enough time. So it's important to at least have a solid schedule to put in the time that you want to put in, and plan ahead. We know that we need to make very detailed lists about level design, especially in our case, because there's a lot of items in our game that are required to score points. As the levels go on, the score gets lower, but the items are fewer and they're kind of up in really hard to reach places. So we had to really think like, well, what would that even be? Why is there, I'm not going to put a plate in the shower or something, right? So we would have to think of like assets that belong in particular places and how the character would even interact with them. For the future, though, I think the game has a lot of expandability. I think the code needs to be reworked a little bit, but it's definitely expandable for some kind of boss battle that we could do. And maybe different sound effects. We did think it was pretty funny to put like breaking glass sound effects on cardboard boxes just for comedic effect. But if I was going to expand the game, I might even get further with the number of sounds that I could put into it. Other things we might do, kind of like in Anna's project, as she presented it, there is an alternate camera angle. We were going to do something like that, but sometimes when you work on something for too long, you don't have a lot of time for other mechanics in the game, so they just have to get left out. It wasn't essential to how our game functioned, obviously, so we just left it out. Probably diversify the level designs. All of our levels are kind of square rooms. I think it would be really cool if we had something that was, I don't know, maybe something even more linear, something more Crash Bandicoot-ish, where you could proceed through the level, or even like a bonus round. And also something for me personally, as I want to develop the game further, would be the story. Right now, you are just playing as a cat. There's a how to play screen. I didn't demo it, but basically it just says what I said in an earlier slide with the story. But I would personally develop the story. Originally, we had like a smaller kind of regular cat that was going to transform into the cats that you see in the game. Well, we left that out because that just wasn't. That was just going to be more work for us in the long run, crammed in with all the other assignments that we had. It wasn't going to be good for our general productivity. And maybe we'd add cutscenes in the future too. I don't know. It'd be really cool, since it does have a comic book aesthetic already, to add some kind of comic book cutscene to explain what's going on between levels. Well, that's just my take on it. And that's our game, Kitkat. Thank you very much for checking it out with us, and really love making this one. This was the most fun game I made all semester, I have to say. But yeah, that's our presentation. Thank you very much.
And thank you. So I got a few questions for you while we're here. So I think the things that I really liked about what I saw today was just the evolution of your game, like how you actually realized. I guess they have in some AAA studios almost like a realization director, a person who's going to realize the vision, and it's like a creative director, but kind of pushing towards that vision, more the kind of a what the end game should look like. And I think what you mentioned in terms of story and in terms of the comic book aesthetic that you were playing with the entire time, I think it's going to go a long way if you continue down that path. If you wanted to continue this project, and some of your, I think it's called onomatopoeia, right? Which is like your bang, bash, boom, those kind of things.
Yes.
That stuff is really interesting. We also tried when I was working on a game, Manos Returns, a couple years ago, which was a kind of a asymmetrical VR and non-VR kind of game, all in one. We did the same thing. We had like these little, kind of pop-ups that came up, and then they kind of make it more of a comic book type feel. And I think that that the thing with it, the trick with those to make sure that they look right, and it looks like you almost used. I think you used. Is it a prop that you got from the asset store?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So what we I think we almost got the exact same one. I think we used the same one that you used, and back in the day. And one thing we noticed that it needed to be resized, right? So because sometimes it would go into walls just like yours did, right? So the positioning of that thing was really important. And so we used colliders. We used a system of colliders. So if if it was going to pop up inside of a wall, it would push out. That's the first thing that would happen, right? So that's what we did. And then the other thing that we ended up doing, just for some of the same tech that you were using, is the billboarding was really important. How we billboarded.
Yeah.
Sometimes billboarding would work, sometimes it wouldn't. If you're thinking about switching cameras, again, billboarding would kind of have to blend and move towards the camera that you're switching to. And sometimes in your case, that might be really confusing. I think what you did was okay. Like using, and this is the beautiful thing about your game is you've converted a platformer into something that doesn't look like a platformer, right? So it's really unobtrusive the way you've kind of put together your level, and that's what I really love about your game. The fact that it's a platformer, yet it doesn't look like a platformer. It's not a traditional look, to it and everything else. I think the sounds that you make where you break stuff, I think there's an exciting part of the game, because I know that when I play things like I'm just going back to Angry Birds, I love the sounds that it makes when it destroys stuff, right? Because we like destruction, I think, some of us, right? But so that's the thing that I think I really enjoyed about it. Like, hey, let's break this thing. Let's hear that break sound again. And making different break sounds of obviously as a future thing that you would add in can make it even more exciting. I want to hear that next break sound, or maybe a series of break sounds where I want to get to that higher pitch. You get a low pitch when you hit one, but if you hit a bunch of them at the same time, it's like, bash, boom, and then you get some other break sound at the end when you hit 2 or 3 of them at the same time. So, yeah. So that kind of stuff is, yeah, exactly. So that kind of stuff is really cool. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. So it's some of the stuff that again, it's it's true, Sam. I have a lot of destructive impulses. I don't know what it is when I'm playing games, but at the end of the day, I think that's what makes your game great. I see the potential of where this thing can go, right? But it also is already really cool. The character and everything else. Again, there's some polish that I think you can apply in different places, but that's for everybody's game. So I think that's just like, if you were gonna as a prototype, this is a really great prototype like that you've put together. And same thing with all the games I've seen today. It's a great starter, a great foundation for what you can to take it further. And I think there's a market for a game like yours. But again, things that you want to do, just like Anna's team would want to do if they were going to take it further, is swap out some of the assets that you downloaded from the asset store with original assets. I think this is where you would go next. And but there's some of them that I think are probably not recognizable. Like, the kitchen assets that you downloaded probably wouldn't be as recognizable as the Pogowski asset that, Anna used as well, right? So those kind of things are interesting. And of course, like, this goes for everybody as well. What Sam mentioned, which is the juiciness factor, adding in screen shake, adding in more particle systems that work with mobile. Okay, that's the thing that you want as well. And then optimizations, right? So that it work better. So that's all the stuff that you'd want to kind of add to your game. And that's for everybody. But otherwise, you know what, man, this is great. You guys did a fantastic job on this one, and I'm really happy that it came together for you. Really, really happy. Right, so it's great. So thank you for that. Any other comments from anybody else before we move on to the next team? All right, thank you so much. I'll stop your sharing for you, so you don't have to do it. And we'll move on to the next team. And so for today, last but not least, we have our team group with Mirara. If you can come up and take control, we're ready for you.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can. Yep.
Perfect. Right. All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Mehrara, and I'm presenting for my group, and I'm going to talk a bit about our game, Bump and Jump. Here are members. We have Youngjin as our UI and tools programmer, and he also did a lot with dynamic traps for our game. I'm the producer, and I mostly took care of meetings and organizing the tasks. John's our lead software engineer, The gameplay, level, and version control all happen smoothly thanks to him. Abdul Hakim is our game designer. He also created different types of platforms for the game, and he worked on save, load, and key mapping options. We have Yaniv as our gameplay programmer who worked on enemy AI and created some soundtracks for us also. Our game is heavily influenced by mostly these two games, Super Mario and Crash. We wanted to have similar camera angle and style of gameplay, which I would say so it's like to a good degree similar to both of them. Game overview. Our game is a 3D platformer for mobile where you get to move the player around and have them jump. That's either to jump over traps or defeat enemies. There's traps and enemies all around in the level to stop you from getting to the end of it. The story is all about Chad. Chad is a school kid lost in his imagination. We need to help him find his way out of his imaginary world so that he can make it to the end of the level to get to the bus so that he's not late for school again. A bit about mechanics and aesthetics. The aesthetics are cartoony, and the game is set in like a jungle. So there's like a lot of nature around, and the environment's very green. It's very like happy, funky style. The mechanics, we have 3D movement and jump again. We have enemy that has patrolling points and also pathfinding. So if you get too close to them, they'll switch to following you instead of their patrolling points. They have different types of platforms and traps, which I think makes the game much more fun to play than it normally would have been without them. And we have a top view for a mini map with markers for player, enemies, traps, and pickups. And we also have implemented our pickups and power-ups. That includes speed boost, which you can see Chad will be rocking those new pairs of shoes, and invincibility, which he seems blue. Our target audience. Our game is basically good for anyone who would like a fun mobile platformer game, but its audience is mostly younger teens because of the style of the game and the art. I will share the video demo with you. I've already checked the share sound sneaky little box, so I'm hoping this will share the audio. Let me know. Can you hear it? All right. So this is our main menu, options, and starting the game. You see that's a boost power up over there, and here's a trap with dynamic sound. Here we're gonna save it, move a little, and load. Goes back to position. Another. Yeah, it is really, really loud. Does this help with the volume change here? Is it? Okay, perfect. So we picked another invincibility. We killed an enemy, and here's a checkpoint. Got another sets of traps. Here's a health pickup. Another enemy that you get to defeat by jumping on it. You see your score also goes up by defeating those enemies. We're using our boost. And here's another one. You can turn the map on and off using the button, or you can scroll around using the on-screen circle that you have. Well, we died there a little, but that's okay. Have plenty of time. So here we're going to pick this health up as well, just in case. You never know. And use invincibility on this one. And also these, why not? And here's another set of traps. So you get to jump and time it, and you get to the school bus, and that's it. And you get to continue from the main menu to the point that you've saved before. And yeah, that should be everything now. Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, there's more slides. Yes. Okay. Lessons learned. We've learned that breaking down roles into smaller pieces with more details will lead to more clarity in communication, and then we'll have tasks that are easier to implement by team members. We've also got better at communicating, whether it be ideas or issues. Found it very necessary and important to communicate any setbacks or changes in plans to the rest of the team members before a deadline. And finally, we learn how to best handle teamwork, even when it comes to overlapping tasks. Do that with, again, a lot of communication, timing, and breaking it down into smaller ones so that not multiple people are working on the same aspect of a role. Yeah, and I just want to take this time to say we feel very happy and proud of our project, and we had a great time along the way. Future possibilities, we think that adding procedural level generation will help to have like an endless run option. Adding more enemy types and pickups will help to make it fun. And again, it could take a lot of tweaking to polish the game, especially the UI audio and some of its gameplay, but it could turn into a really fun game to play on mobile. Now this is everything. Thank you for listening.
Let's do a little bit more of a few questions for you and some comments as well. I think there's still a great amount of polish that you could add to the game, and I think that's where when I was thinking when we were talking at the mid-semester checkpoint, and I was talking to you guys about things like adding icons and that kind of stuff. Those things are the things that are missing. So, for example, if you can show me just your game one more time, if you can share that your game, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's perfect. So notice like the map and jump, like that's something that you could have changed. Again, some of the sound effects, the sound that you guys had that was very loud, you could have adjusted the sound and those kind of things to make it a little bit, I guess, easier. You could have swapped out the joystick, kind of knob, or modified the joystick that's on the screen to make it more kind of, again, meet the aesthetic of your game, because your game is very, like, it looks like there's, kind of, past, again, different colors, some of the same assets that you use that from Pogowski that are in your game. So that's something that is, it's been a very common theme for all the games that we've seen so far. Your mini map is interesting, but I'm not sure that it helps in all scenarios. I think if anything, it kind of takes up a large part of your screen, depending on where you are. And I don't know if you move your YouTube video forward a little bit, or even maybe backward, go back a little bit. Yeah, you can see how, like, it can be, there's going to be a time where it's kind of more intrusive. So yeah, go maybe a little bit after that. So it's like, and it kind of changes size, which is weird, right? So you have like the smaller one and it's bigger one, and it's like, it's kind of, I'm not sure if it's,
Yeah.
So here's how it is. See this one? It's like a big square. And then there's like times where it's a lot smaller. And I think it's because of your transparency that you're using, like the way you're doing the mini map. I think it could have been bordered. I think that's what you could have done. So select a border that you put around it or something like that. Again, I'm not sure that how it's helping you. Similar to what I was talking about with Anna in terms of her, it doesn't look like it's helping you at all. It's a requirement, but it's something that you needed to integrate a little bit more than what you have here. So overall, your level's a little bit short. I would have liked to see more from your level, and that kind of stuff. Do I see a potential with your game? Absolutely. I think there's all kinds of things that you could do. But I think that one thing that you think that you guys have that's very different than everyone else is hazards. I think there's a lot of hazards, and especially spike hazards and animated hazards that are really cool. Stuff that could be improved are enemies and the challenge. I still think there's room for really ramping up the challenge in different areas, and making it so that there's going to be some kind of step or area in your game that's going to be a bit of difficulty to get through. So maybe the first part of your game, if you're going to make it one big level like this, is going to be kind of the tutorialized area, right? Where it's a safer area, you learn how to jump, you learn how to do all the things you need to do. But there's got to be an area in your game, if there's only one level, like you have right now, that is more challenging, where you kind of use all the skills that you learned in the earlier stages in order for you to to kind of get along in the later stages, right? So I think those are the things that I think you need to add that are missing to this thing. I know it's been a challenging semester as well, so that it's like for everybody it's different. For some people it's been a focus. For other people it's been a struggle. And so I get it. But I think those are the things that I would say are missing from your game and the final product that you have. So I think I would have liked to see more, from what you had, given the team that you had as well. You have a big team, so there's opportunities for you guys all to continue to produce. And these little things like swapping out button icons and that kind of stuff, that could have been done way earlier in your production, so that you don't have to to do it at the kind of the last component. Like even in your alpha, you could have done all that swapping out the icons, the way it worked, the sound effects, which I still think is pretty rough in terms of the moving, which is a boom, boom, boom. It still doesn't make sense for the type of character you had. If you were moving an android body, then the walking sound effects might be okay. But I think these things are the things that you can modify and tweak. So there's a lot. If you guys had another release, that's what I would have asked you to do, right? So I know there's a lot that I've just given you there, but it's just general comments, things that kind of carried forward from your mid-semester checkpoint, and those kind of things that I would have liked to see. Any other comments from people that are here with me today? Yeah, and how do you feel about it yourself? I know you were the producer, and it was tough to motivate everyone to go through. So you have a tough job. What are your thoughts on everything?
Honestly, I think everyone did a great job with the time and limitation that we had on the project. There are certain things that definitely could have been done better, but again, with the time that we could put into this project, I think it turned out really well. As you mentioned, obviously there is a lot of improvements that could be done, but I feel like most of them we know what they are, and they should be easy to fix once we have enough time and motivation to work on it. But yeah, it was a pleasure to be able to work with my team members, program alongside them, and I would say it was a pleasant experience.
Well, thank you so much for that. I will release you from this one as well. Thank you. And again, I think that there's, we've seen a lot of different things today, guys. And the beautiful thing that we've seen also is the diversity that we had from each of the teams and everything that we've produced, today, right? That we've seen today. So I think this is really great. One thing I want to mention is that although, like I said earlier on during our lecture presentation, which was on Tuesday, where we saw some really great games as well. I think that please keep connected with everybody, the people that are here. I know this may be one of your last evaluations, your last lecture, if you will, almost for some of you. But keep connected. I think there's a great value in in connecting with team members and professors and everything else. You never know how those connections are going to help you land, potentially an opportunity in the industry or somewhere else. And I think so that way, I think it's really valuable for you to do that for everybody that's here. And I also want to thank you guys, all of you, for all the work, the hard work that you've been doing, and some of the challenges that you guys have all kind of talked about in your lessons learned. I think you've mentioned things like common things like GitHub, organization, starting early. There's no time. These are the things that I've heard from. It's a kind of a recurring theme in projects, right? So it's a good thing that you've learned that. Working with team members, overlapping roles, where you kind of one member clobbers another member with their work, kind of thing. So I've kind of downloaded something and I've integrated it. But wait, I've already integrated this piece. Why are you clobbering my work? Kind of thing. And it's not because we want to. It's like enthusiasm, like Sam said in his presentation. So all those kind of lessons learned, those are takeaways that you can use in the real world when you kind of go out and make your own, your games, and add your talents, to kind of maybe a larger enterprise, right? So those are the things that you should continue doing, and the value of being a great team member. That's one of the outputs of this course, right? Because now this is a culmination, right? You've kind of gone through a bunch of different courses, like we mentioned before, and this is the course that you get to finally, and you're like, hey, I knew all this stuff, right? And how do I put it together? How do I put the puzzle pieces together to make a fantastic game? How do I do that? It can be tough. It can be daunting, even, right? So I think those are the things that I think some of you have really demonstrated that you've learned through this whole process. So pretty awesome. And who to work with and who not to work with. That's also something else you guys have all learned. That the value of keeping a strong team together, or even exploring new avenues with different people that you've wanted to work with the entire time. So those kind of things are lessons you can take away. So any other comments before we stop for the day?
I'm grateful that you come into this with a really versatile skill set, and so part of the results of that is we end up with these classes that run in sort of turbo. But I think we've learned a lot of really cool stuff in this class, and the blended ones with Blender and then the content, the Unity content afterwards, has been hugely formative for my skills as a developer. Plus, it's just been a lot of fun. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sam. And one thing I want to say also is, like I said earlier on Tuesday this week, is I've seen you guys, some of you guys, from the very beginning, from that first production class we had together, and I've kind of put together a fondness for the people who have made it to this point. And I like what I said is, like, I remember, and here's some memories for you guys, that I want to share with you. I remember, Sam, when I first met you, and Anna, and everybody else that was in those first production classes. And I'm telling you, it was so interesting to see you guys grow and change over the 3 years that we've been together, whether it's in person or virtually. I remember Mary, when she was first managing that massive team in Game Production 1, what big challenges she had when she was kind of managing that, and how great she did, and how she continues to shine, right, when it comes to production. I think it's really great that she does that. So all those kind of memories, those things that I've saw, are things that make me feel really fulfilled as a professor, because it sees all the great things that you guys have done over the whole time. So so this isn't just a culmination for you, it's a culmination for me when I see students kind of achieve the stuff that you guys have done this semester, and especially with a project like this one, from where you can use this, I think, as a portfolio piece, like we mentioned earlier, and really go out there and share your accomplishments with everybody. So, guys, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to meeting again with you sometime in the future. Please keep connected with me on LinkedIn. I recommend that. I think it's fantastic to do that. And again, all I can say is thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again. Thank you. So that's it for me. I'm going to stop, putting things up on YouTube. If you have any other questions related to the stuff we've talked about today, I will take questions now from the people that are here. Otherwise, again, that's it for me.